Shedeur Sanders was not your average draftee. Let me say that again. Shedeur Sanders was not your average draftee coming into the draft. Typically, most student athletes have not had the means Shedeur had as a college athlete. Even with the NIL, if you want to, blow that out of proportion, even with the NIL, Shedeur, think about the Maybach Shedeur bought Jordan Seaton, one of his offensive linemen. I think it was his backside, so it had to be his left tackle, if I'm not mistaken. He bought him a Maybach. There are not professional quarterbacks buying high-end luxury vehicles for any lineman, much less any player on the roster, not even considering such a move of that magnitude. But he did it. Shedeur was rolling in a high-end luxury vehicle. What he had a Rolls, and allegedly that was just one of the vehicles that he had. And this is a student athlete in Boulder. Okay? So again, he was not your average draftee. Teams are looking at this. Now, I'm not saying that was the problem, which it wasn't. But when you look at typically a player coming out of college or being recruited, they look at players first from humble means because of the potentiality of a player having options. Does he really want to play football? Or can he fall back on his education if he should decide to at a moment's notice? And typically, they go with the players that have more to lose and much to gain by stepping up their game at the college level while they're in college. So this wasn't an issue either. The only thing that stood out was Shedeur's means. Shedeur had more means. Shedeur is doing better. Shedeur is coming into the league with vehicles that you might get after your rookie deal contract if you win in the first round. If you didn't go in the first round, you not even think, or you shouldn't be, buying a car of this magnitude. You might not even consider it. If you think, remember when his brother and Shedeur and Shiloh wanted to buy their dad a house in Colorado? They went and looked at it, and Dad, I don't know why I said Dad, Coach Prime said, "No, let me wait till I win a national title before I move into something like this." Okay, you can go back and look at that on Bucky's video on Well Off Media, and that whole group, Reach the People and the Pregame Show. You can go back and check either one of those videos out, or either one of those people that follow the team, and you can pull up what I'm talking about. Nonetheless, this was a factor. This was a factor among other factors now. So you got Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and later in the season, Cam Ward name snuck into the mix. Now, Cam Ward had been balling all year, playing for the University of Miami, high-profile program for quarterbacks. Quarterback U, arguably, quarterback U. Now, Shedeur and Cam Ward had someone in common. Their personal trainer for quarterbacks, I think, is Darryl Colbert Jr. Okay, Darryl Colbert Jr. I think it's Select. I forgot the name of his exact name of his program. But he has impacted a lot of young men's ability to play quarterback at the next level. That young man, his understudies could have went 1-2 in the draft, which would have been a boom for his business, for him being for the business that he's running with training quarterbacks. He takes them through all of the rigors of mechanics that you could possibly do. And he had, it's without question, he had the number 1 draft pick. Darryl Colbert Jr., trained Cam Ward, trained Shedeur Sanders, trained a lot of other quarterbacks you're going to hear about someday, okay? So make no mistake about it. These were some of the factors going into the draft with Shedeur Sanders. Not your average draftee, buying high-end luxury vehicles, driving a high-end luxury vehicle. And did you see the drip he had on draft night 1? Now, people say, oh, you gonna bring that up? Again, they looking at all this because everybody on draft night 1 walked across the stage. Unless they had the camera at home there, they were gonna be highlighted. The young man had on major drip. Now, the difference between Shedeur's drip he had on that night 1, and all the other players that had on drip, Shedeur's was paid for. Shedeur's drip was paid for out of his own pocket. Now, allegedly, some of the other draftees, agents, may have purchased those. Unless, let me say this. If they didn't have a strong NIL deal, then the agent probably made those purchases so the kid could look good draft night, especially if you're going high in the first round. So again, team owners, GMs are looking at this. This dude was doing very well for himself even before he inks a deal. So now, when you think about the news that was coming out on Shedeur prior to the draft about how his interviews didn't go well, they said he came off as entitled. Again, this young man was not your typical draftee. It was obvious. Yeah, so when you say, well, he may have had a little attitude, not necessarily so. When you look at the background he has come from, his father is just swelling with confidence. So he instilled that in his children. So sitting across the table from someone that does not know you like that, it could come off that way. But is that who he is? Is that who Shedeur is? And there were no character issues with this young man on or off the field or in the locker room. But I just wanted to give you some perspective about what I thought could have been factors in the draft. A lot of people wanted to make it about race, and it could have been. There could have been some levels to that, but not to the extent where you would just totally ignore a man's abilities. There have been, if you go back in the history of the draft, there have been quarterbacks with Shedeur's ability and less that have been taken in the first round and didn't pan out. So they, in a sense, they stole money. Now, is that what they thinking Shedeur might do? I don't think that's the issue. Could they question whether he really wants to play football? You could say that. If you want to draft him in the 5th round, you could say that, and you could put that out there like that. So keep that in mind moving forward when you hear stuff about these players before the draft, before these monumental events. This story just drops out of nowhere. He had bad interviews. Chris Carter was saying he came off as entitled. Well, Chris Carter, if you look at your age, Shedeur's age, when you were that age, y'all were two different kids. You came out of a different circumstance. You came from a different set of circumstances than Shedeur. So yes, he's gonna come off differently than you did. Some people call it arrogant. If that's your personality, if that's who you are, and it translates to the field as swag, I want that in my locker room. I want that out of my quarterback. Now, can you deal with that as an owner and a GM? Can you deal with a player coming into the facility with more whips than you? Yeah, think about that. That's all I have for you right now. I want to thank you all who have been rocking with me thus far and keep rocking with me. If you're not rocking with me, why not? Subscribe, like, share, and comment, and let me know what you think about all of this. You all have a blessed day. I'm out.